Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove. It must have been around 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 o'clock p.m.
It seems familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland when I was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl.
Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls, real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. It looked like an antique that didn't belong in the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though.
Sorry to resurrect the old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, Skysail. I think the Candle Cove ran for only a couple of months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was on channel 58, whatever station that was. My mum used to let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I can remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. She called the pirate ship Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And Calliope music was playing constantly. Don't remember the girl's name. It was Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice.
Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiley face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had an awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked.
I remember now, too. Do you remember this part, Skyshale? You have to go inside.